Hello and welcome back to the drafting series. So let's start with revising the previous episode. Revise with me, like say after me or say with me at least. In previous episode we studied parts of drafting. There are three parts. One is non-operative part, operative part and formal part. And then in the sub parts we have divided and studied every single thing yesterday. I hope you recall the whole lecture, and in case you have any issue just let me know in the comment section. Before starting any agreement, remember one thing. Any agreement starts with a story, and before that story a paragraph comes that this dash agreement made on dash day of dash between Mr. X and Mr. Y, who is a buyer, seller, mortgagee or any agreement depending on the type of agreement it is. You can make the story by your own. Anything you write is perfectly fine, but it should be a very valid story, not any faltu story though. Okay, like you have to write a contract or agreement between two parties. So now let's begin with sale agreement. Sale agreement starts like this sale agreement made on dash day of dash between Mr. X. As in the non-operative part in previous lecture, we studied that if there is an individual, how we introduce that individual, that Mr. X, son of dash and resident of dash. You don't have to write the whole thing. Slash O and R/O also works. It's totally fine in exams also. Son of dash, resident of dash. And while we are introducing any party, we have to write in bracket that what we are going to call this party future. अभी तो तुमने इसको मिस्टर एक्स एंड मिस्टर वाई बोल दिया, बट आगे जाके इसको तुम क्या बोलने वाले हो, दैट यू हैव टू राइट इन द स्टार्ट ऑफ अग्रीमेंट इटसेल्फ. So in the bracket we will write hereinafter referred to as seller on one part. See, seller is one part, buyer is another part. Remember one thing, there are two parts or three parts as depending on the type of agreement. We will introduce another party, that is Mr. Y, son of dash, resident of dash, hereinafter referred as buyer on another part or other part. This is the half non-operative part which has title, date, time, place, description. Now we are going to introduce the recitals. Recitals are of two types, that is introductory and narrative. In narrative, we say the history of any particular party or history of the whole transaction that is going to happen. So this is a sale agreement. So how we will introduce? Whereas. हर story को introduce करने के पहले the word should come whereas. Whereas Mr. X or Mr. A, whatever you're going to write, is the absolute owner of the property described in Schedule 1. As the agreement involves immovable property, we have to write schedules because in the schedule, the location of property is situated. Then comes the narrative recital that Mr. A is willing to sell and Mr. B is willing to buy. Like we have to show that the agreement is made on their own willingness. How we write this? Mr. and whereas. See, एक बार whereas हो गया, अब second time and whereas. Mr. A is willing to sell and Mr. B is willing to buy. जो भी buyer and seller है उसके हिसाब से. Then comes the common clause. This common clause comes in every agreement almost. And what this common clause says, again and whereas should be in capital letters only. And whereas both the parties hereby mutually agrees to the terms and conditions of the sale agreement. Now comes the operative part. And operative part का सबसे पहला point होता है testatum. Testatum means now this agreement witnessed as under. This line should be in capital letters again. पहला clause हम लिखते हैं. See, I am going to tell you 10-15 clauses of sale agreement itself. But तुमको exam में लिखने हैं 5 to 7 clauses only. And वो भी जब बहुत सारे agreement हो जाएंगे ना, I'll tell you common clauses you can write in almost every agreement. First clause comes as earnest money clause. Earnest money यानी advance कितना दिया हुआ है. In this clause we will tell कि advance इतना हम दे रहे हैं और आगे का consideration हम आगे जाके देंगे. And this earnest money will form part of this consideration itself. कोई भी clause start करने की first word होता है that. Remember few things. कोई भी agreement start कर रहे हो, first is this sale agreement, this dash agreement. फिर उसका जब storyline समझ रहे हो तो whereas and whereas. फिर जब clauses लिख रहे हो तो that. हर क्लॉज के पहले दैट आना जरूरी है. दैट द बायर हैज पेड अर्नेस्ट मनी ऑफ डैश डैश अमाउंट एंड दिस विल फॉर्म पार्ट ऑफ कंसिडरेशन एंड वी हैव एक्नॉलेज द रिसीट आल्सो. You can write this in your own language also, but it should have some legal words at least. Then comes the second part, that both the parties have agreed on total consideration of rupees dash dash dash, and you have to tell when the balance amount is going to be paid. Like जब earnest money तो pay कर दिया, but now balance amount कब pay करेंगे? On the registration, on the removal, on the something, any condition you can put. नेक्स्ट कम्स पोजेशन. पोजेशन और टाइटल डीड, ये दो क्लॉजेस हमेशा याद रखना जब तुम मॉर्गेज भी पढ़ोगे या सेल अग्रीमेंट या आगे भी मैं जब बताऊंगी. दिस टू क्लॉजेस आर वेरी कॉमन इन ऑलमोस्ट एवरी अग्रीमेंट. सो पोजेशन में हम क्या लिखते हैं कि ये पर्सन एक्स पर्सन वाई पर्सन को पोजेशन देगा विद इन डैश अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम. This is how possession clause works. Then comes the free from encumbrances clauses. कल भी मैंने जब लेक्चर लिया था तब मैंने बताया था covenants and undertaking. This is one of the undertaking. Owner himself is saying that the property is free from all the said encumbrances. यानी उसके ऊपर कोई लोन नहीं है, मॉर्गेज नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, फ्री प्रॉपर्टी है. फिर हम बात करते हैं टाइटल डीड की. टाइटल डीड एग्जैक्टली क्या कि ये टाइटल जो ओनर के पास है, सेलर के पास है, वो बायर को विद इन डैश अमाउंट ऑफ पीरियड में दे देगा. Like that the seller is going to give the ownership of this property within dash amount of time. This is how the title deed clauses work. अब हम कोई भी agreement is the most important part of that transaction. So agreement को हम जितना inclusive बना सकते हैं उतना inclusive हम बनाते हैं. So agreement में हम ये भी लिखते हैं कि समझो ये transaction cancel हो गया और उसने earnest money, seller ने earnest money हमको नहीं दी. earnest money यानी advance अगर उसने हमें नहीं दिया. So how we are going to work in that situation? Seller is not giving the earnest money back, then he will be charged with dash amount of interest. This is the refund clause. The name, the title of any clauses you don't have to write. This is written just for our understanding. As this is our first agreement, I'm trying to make you understand the types of clauses that you can write in the agreement. Now to make any legal agreement, we require cost also. So next clause comes like who is going to bear the cost of actually making this agreement. So the cost will be shared equally and mutually by the both the parties. This is another clause. The last two clauses जो तुम हर agreement में डाल लो काम कर जाते हैं. Last two clauses, one is of arbitration, means in case of any dispute we will refer to the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. अब breach clause कैसे लिखते हैं? If the buyer breaches this agreement, then the seller have right to forfeit the earnest money जो already उसके पास पड़ी हुई थी. Means he can use that advance money for his own purpose if buyer breaches this agreement. This is how we write the breach clause. This all are the clauses of sale agreement. As this agreement includes immovable property, next we are going to write in the capital letters in the middle of agreement schedule, the word schedule. Then in next 4 lines we will write in the east of, in the west of, in the north of, in the south of. And in the last testimonium we write in witness whereof both the parties put their signature on the date mentioned above. This says that the agreement has come to end and now both the parties will sign, that is execution, and last witnesses will sign below them, that is attestation. This is whole sale agreement. I hope you're understanding what exactly and how exactly sale agreement is written. Let's revise in like 15-20 seconds कि कौन से clauses हमें याद आते हैं. Earnest money, consideration, title deed, possession, breach, arbitration या dispute clause. 6 clauses भी लिख के आते हो तो भी काफ़ी है. It's enough in exam. The second date for the day we are going to do is arbitration agreement. कोई भी arbitration agreement कब बनता है? पहले तो जब dispute हो गया है. Second, जब तुमने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बनाया था कि उस टाइम पे तुमने आर्बिट्रेशन क्लॉज नहीं डाला था तो हम एक अलग से अग्रीमेंट बनाते हैं टू सॉल्व दैट डिस्प्यूट. एनी आर्बिट्रेशन अग्रीमेंट इज मेड इन 2 forms. Either we put the clause in the contract or deed itself or we make a separate agreement, that is arbitration agreement. What we are going to do in this agreement, we will define the dispute, then we will appoint arbitrator. Again the same situation. First paragraph mein we will define the title, date and sub. This arbitration agreement made on dash day of dash between Mr. A, son of dash, resident of dash, in bracket hereinafter referred as Mr. A on one part. इसको Mr. A को Mr. A ही बोलेंगे हम क्योंकि ये अलग से agreement बन रहा है. And Mr. B, son of dash, resident of dash, in bracket hereinafter referred as Mr. B on other part. See, this is very simple introduction कि A को A ही बोल रहे हैं, B को B ही बोल रहे हैं. Comes the recitals. Mr. A and Mr. B has come into an agreement. Had come into an agreement, but there are conflicts arisen now. So to solve that conflicts, we are going to appoint arbitrator in this agreement. And then again the mutual consent wala clause, the common clause. And whereas both the parties have agreed to enter into this arbitration agreement and solve the dispute, then comes the testatum. Now this agreement witnessed as under. First point में हम ये बोलते हैं कि arbitrator को appoint करें. How we are going to write this point? That सबसे first word, that both the parties have agreed to appoint Mr. C. अगेन उसको भी इंट्रोड्यूस करना है, सन ऑफ डैश रेसिडेंट ऑफ डैश एज आर सोल आर्बिट्रेटर। फिर सेकंड पॉइंट में हम डिस्प्यूट इन्फॉर्म करते हैं। तुम डिस्प्यूट तुम्हारे मन के हिसाब से बना लो कि ए पर्सन को ये प्रॉब्लम थी, बी पर्सन को ये प्रॉब्लम थी और ये सॉल्व नहीं हो रहा था। यू कैन मेक अप एनी सिचुएशन इन दिस, लाइक मिस्टर ए वॉज लाइबल टू पे सम चार्जेस बट ही हैज नॉट पेड। अनदर पॉइंट लाइक नॉट गिवन इंटरेस्ट एंड देयर इज डिले ऑफ 15 days to give interest also। आर्बिट्रेशन कैसा होता है? आउट ऑफ द कोर्ट सॉल्विंग डिस्प्यूट। सो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू कि हियरिंग कब होगी? अब यहाँ से ना आर्बिट्रेटर का काम चालू हो जाता है। सो आर्बिट्रेटर इंश्योर्स दैट बोथ द पार्टीज हैव देयर रिस्पेक्टिव आर्ग्यूमेंट्स वेदर इन रिटन और ओरल फॉर्म टू हिमसेल्फ ओनली। So this clause defines that the said arbitrator shall allow both the parties to file their respective arguments whether in oral or written form. This is another clause। यहाँ कोई इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी की बात तो हो रही है, एज इट्स अ सेल अग्रीमेंट में प्रॉब्लम हो गया है, बट ये आर्बिट्रेशन कहाँ होगा? सो हमें प्लेस ऑफ आर्बिट्रेशन भी लिखना पड़ेगा, दैट ऑल द आर्बिट्रल हियरिंग्स विल बी कंडक्टेड एट डैश। इससे क्या पता चलेगा? हमें प्लेस पता चलेगी कि कहाँ पे आर्बिट्रेशन होने वाला है एग्जैक्टली। इन दिस आर्बिट्रेशन अग्रीमेंट वी आर गोइंग टू डू डिस्कशन ऑन सॉल्विंग द डिस्प्यूट। That discussion's language should also be defined. See, any agreement is the most inclusive part of any contract. If your agreement has every single thing written, then it gets easier in future. So we write language also, either in English, either in Hindi, whatever language they are going to do the arbitral proceedings. We are going to write another clause, that is applicable laws clause, कि कोई भी problem होती है, if any problem arise in this agreement, then we are going to refer Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. And last point comes कि the decision of arbitration is called as award. So the award will be final and binding on both the parties. ऐसे ना हो कि ये सब करने का भी वो parties वापस लड़ाई करने लग जाए। So we have to write the award part also. And last schedule लिख देते हैं। schedule में हम वापस अब ये नहीं लिखेंगे कि ईस्ट ऑफ वेस्ट ऑफ, नहीं, ब्रैकेट में डाल देंगे सेल डीड अटैच, क्योंकि इसके साथ सेल डीड अटैच होके ही आर्बिट्रेटर के पास जाता है। एंड लास्ट में अगेन हमारा टेस्टिमोनियम इन विटनेस वेयर ऑफ वाली लाइन, एंड लास्ट में दोनों पार्टीज की साइन, दोनों विटनेसेस की साइन। This is your arbitration agreement. I hope you're understanding it. I think 2 agreements are enough for the day, as it's the first day. From tomorrow I'll do more agreements as well, and I'll ensure to get a proper setup or something like that. One thing I wanted to say, even if you understand just half of the things that I taught today, it's still okay. In the first day you will understand just little bit, in second day you'll understand more, in third day you'll understand more. Just keep watching the videos, not for my views but for your own studies. I'll get views some or other way. By the end of this series, you will understand drafting in very better way. You will actually crack the code of understanding and writing the drafts. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep hustling and keep praying. Thank you so much.